Hello, welcome to the Chitta tutorial. This is the video about Android tutorial. Today we are going to see the basics of Android. First of all, we need to know the definition of Android. Android is nothing but an operating system for mobile phones. Android is a open source and Linux based OS for mobile devices such as smartphones and tablet computers. Android was founded by Andy Rubin in October 2000 at California. Later in 2005, Google acquired Android from Andy Rubin, so it is developed by Google. Android offers a unified approach to application development for mobile devices, which means developers need to develop only for Android and their application should be able to run on different devices powered by Android. The first beta versions of Android software development kit was released by Google in 2007, whereas the first commercial version Android 1.0 was released in September 2008. Next, we are going to see the architecture of Android. Android operating system is a stack of software components which is roughly divided into 5 sections and 4 main layers as shown in the architecture diagram. First of all, we see the Linux kernel. At the bottom of the layer is Linux. This provides the basic system functionality like process management, memory management, device management like camera, keypad, display, etc. Also, the kernel handles all the things that Linux is really good at, such as the networking and the vast area of device drivers, which take the pain out of interfacing to peripheral hardware. Next one is libraries. On top of Linux kernel, there is a set of libraries including open source web browser engine, that is WebKit, and well-known library C. SQLite, it's a database for Android, which is a useful repository for storage and sharing of application data. And libraries are used to play, record audio and video, and the SSL libraries are responsible for internet security, etc. Next, Android runtime. This is the third section of the architecture and available on the second layer from the bottom. This section provides a key component called Dalvik virtual machine, which is a kind of Java virtual machine especially designed and optimized for Android. The Dalvik virtual machines makes use of Linux core features like memory management and multi-threading, which is intrinsic in the Java language. The Dalvik virtual machines enables every Android application to run in its own process with its own instance of Dalvik virtual machine. The Android runtime also provides a set of core libraries which enable Android application developers to write Android application using standard Java programming language. Next, the second top layer is Application Framework. Application Framework layer provides many higher level services to application in the form of Java classes. Application developers are allowed to make use of these services in their applications. Next, we move on application. It is the top layer of Android architecture. You will find all the Android applications in this layer. You will write your applications to be installed on this layer only. Examples of such applications are contacts, books, browser, games, and more, etc. This is the architecture of Android. Next, we move on applications component. Applications component are the essential building blocks of Android applications. These components are loosely coupled by the application manifest file Android manifest.xml. The manifest.xml file describes each component of the applications, how they interact with each other. Let me see manifest in detail in future videos. The following four main components are the activities, services, broadcast receivers, and content provider. Activities dictate the user interface and handle the user interaction to the smartphone screen. Services handle the background processing associated with an application. Broadcast receivers handle communication between Android OS and applications. Content provider handle the data and the database management issues. Let's be detailed in each of the component. Activities represents a single screen with a user interface. For example, an email application might have one activity that shows a list of new emails, another activity to compose an email, and one for reading emails. So if an application has more than one activity, then one of them should be marked as the activity that is presented when the application is launched. So each and every single screen is an activity. Activity is implemented as a subclass activity class. Public class main activity is the class name that is extend from the subclass activity. Next we move on services. A service is a component that runs in the background to perform long running operations. For example, a service might play music in the background while the user is in a different applications, or it might fetch data over the network without blocking user interaction with an activity. Service is implemented as a subclass service class. That is public class. My service is a class name that is extend from a subclass service. Next, broadcast receivers. Broadcast receivers simply responds to broadcast messages from other applications or from the system. For example, application can also initiate broadcast to let other applications know that some data has been downloaded to the device and it is available for them to use. So this is a broadcast receiver who will intercept this communication and will initiate the appropriate action. A broadcast receiver is implemented as a subclass of broadcast receiver class, and each message is broadcasted as an intent object. Intent is used to pass a message from one activity to another activity. Let me see in detail in future. So the broadcast receiver is implemented as public class. My receiver is a class name that is extend from the subclass broadcast receiver. Content providers. Content provider components supply data from one application to others on request. Such requests are handled by the methods of the content resolver class. The data may be stored in the file system, the database, or somewhere else entirely. A content provider is implemented as a subclass content provider class and must implement a standard set of APIs that enable other applications to perform transactions. So it is implemented as it is shown in video, that is public class. My content provider is a class name that is extend from the subclass content provider. Next we move on. The additional components is used in the constructions of this activity, services, broadcast receiver and content providers, and the logic and wiring between these components. Those components are fragments, views, layouts, intents, resource and manifest. What is fragments? Fragments represents a behavior or a portion of user interface in an activity. You can combine multiple fragments in a single activity to build a multi-pane user interface, and also we can reuse a fragment in multiple activities. Fragments are independent reused components. It is used to achieve a modularity. Next, views. Views are the user interface elements that are drawn on screen. Example for the views includes buttons, list, forms, etc. Next, layouts. Layouts view the hierarchies that control the screen format and appearance of the views. Example for layouts are linear layout, relative layout, absolute layout, and constraint layout, etc. Intents. Intents are used to pass the messages from one activity to another, messages wiring components together. Next, resources. Resources are nothing but the external elements such as strings, constants, drawable pictures, fonts, etc. Next we move on manifest. Manifest is a configuration file for the applications. It shows the complete description of the app. For example, which activity is going to execute first on all the permission provided to app are described in this manifest file. It includes all the activities and complete descriptions of the app. So in this tutorial we saw some basic concepts of Android. I hope this tutorial may help you to understand some basics about Android. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe my channel for more videos.